What's going on, guys, and welcome back. But before we dive into the content that you're here for, I just want to do something that typically I don't do very often. There is a link for the GoFundMe down below, and when I met Zach a couple years ago through Lorcana, he's just a great down-to-earth guy. He is diagnosed with stage 3 Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I guess just to kind of show the kind of person he is, I've seen him at multiple set championships now give up his top 8 spot so that 9th place could go get their card because he already had his, and to him it's a game to have fun. I've seen him give his card away multiple times to new players in the game, to a kid in the game, and that's just really a outlook on the kind of person that he is. He plays for the love of the game, all that stuff. I'm not asking anyone to go out of their way, but you never know, and it's one of the few things that I can do in addition to trying to help myself is just putting it out there if anyone wants to click down below. But we're going to go ahead and jump on into today's video then, and it's the dogs. You guys already know we're keeping the dream alive. We're trying to get one of every set championship card. So far, so good. Going back to the Stitch, we have accumulated at least one of all of them. It's kind of just my little personal goals to actually win one of each set championship as we can continue to go along. But we did get our playmat as well this time, and I'm in a medical, and everyone in my group chat could probably tell you that maybe I was even getting a little bit annoying talking about how up in the air I was. I brought Blurple with to the event as well. I was kind of like an anti-Blurple list. But at the end of the day, there's a couple better players there. I mean, there's a lot of really good players there, but a couple of them were potentially going to be on really aggressive decks. And aside from not necessarily wanting to play mirrors all day, being very comfortable with Blurple for the DLC already, and not wanting to just take an auto loss to a very aggressive deck, it kind of pushed me away from playing Blurple for the event. So I showed up to the event with both of these decks sleeved up, ready to go, not knowing which one I was going to end up playing, and I chose to go with SeaDogs, and I really can't complain because I played 6 Blurples throughout the day, and I did take an ID in round 5. We did play it out just for fun, and I did win in game 3, so that's the whole 8-0. Technically it was 7-0-1 if we're going on that, but round 1 I played against Andy and his green-red Powerline deck, which actually is really spicy. It's 1, maybe 2 cards away from actually being able to do a lot of really cool things. Just needs a little more consistency, and honestly, this might have been the worst matchup I played all day. He just has good answers for things, but at the end of the day, the consistency wasn't there. In addition to twice I hit Daisy and hit Under the Sea off the top of his deck, burying it to the bottom, which, not gonna lie, it helps a lot. The game I dropped to him, he did Powerline into Under the Sea twice, but what's more likely to happen? Powerline, where you get to look at 4 cards, or Daisy, where you only get to look at 1, and I hit it twice. And I'm not going to lie, Daisy put in work, especially like even against Blurples, just not giving my opponent characters, not giving them cards, not giving them ink, resources. She was working in my favor. So there was a little bit that went good for me that way. But then rounds 2, 3, and 4, I was against Blurple all 3 rounds, on the draw all 3 rounds, and I 2-0'd all 3 of those opponents. The deck just worked exactly how the deck's supposed to work. Like I said, IDing round 5, it was against Ruby Amethyst Damage. We played it out just for fun to see what would happen. Shout out to Dave, another member from our little group chat. And game 1, he took on me. He was on the play. I was on the draw once again. And then I won 2 and game 3. Game 3 was actually absolutely insane. I was at 10 lore, not super crazy, questing to 12 with Tramp, the 6 cost, and then playing a Go-Go Tamago to get 4 lore, putting myself to 16 and top decking. I had nothing left in hand, and it's like, okay, all I have to do is top deck a character, play it, pass turn, quest on my turn, win the game. So, naturally, I top-decked Under the Sea, and his board did not die whatsoever to Under the Sea, so I just kind of sat there. I'm like, okay, pass turn. Next turn, Under the Sea. Wow. He quests, puts me on a spot where I have to win this turn, and I can only get to 19, or I lose. Top-deck Go-Go Tamago for the game. It was intense. It was crazy. As unlucky as the double Under the Seas top decks were, because I only played 2, I was just as lucky to pull that Go-Go Tamago. And we might not have GOAT for game anymore, but we have Go-Go for game, and it's just as good, if not better. It just felt really, really clean. In addition to that, then going into top 8, I played Blurple in top 8, top 4, and in the finals, 2-1ing all 3 of them. I had a weird feeling that the deck was just going to lose to itself, and I don't necessarily think that it did. Like once in a while, decks like this, you just lose a game to yourself, whether it's uninkables, whether it's drawing none of the right engine at the time, and it doesn't work out. But that actually, it didn't happen. Fortunately, the deck was very, very good all day long. I don't know if there's really anything I would necessarily change moving forward either. If I played this weekend, which I might, and I don't think I'll play this deck again, but who knows. I wouldn't make any changes, I don't think, if I decided to play it, playing at 16 uninkables. And the nice thing about this deck, it comes in at $116, and the majority of that being your Lady 3 cost and your Daisy Duck. Like right there's like 80 of your $116. The rest of the deck is actually really, really budget. So going through, playing 25 1-drops, just lots of 1s and 2s, and that's kind of the bread and butter of the deck. Like, you don't usually play a 2-cost character on turn 2 unless it's Tramp, because you get to play it for 1 because you have a Lady on board. You more often than not go 1-drop on 1, 2 1-drops on 2, and then turn 3, whether you're going Lady, Chromacon, things like that. There's different play routes, and in Lorcana Villains chat with Dale, Humble, and with Ed, I think that they really nailed it on the head talking about the deck, saying that most players who play this deck as an aggro deck tend to not do very well with it because it's a very aggressive combo deck. There's lots of play lines and combos within the deck, and some of that starts as early as your 1-drops and going into like turn 2. So I guess your first quote-unquote combo pieces are going to be like your Lady Decisive Dog, where every time you play a character, she gets +1 strength. When she has 3 or more strength, she quests for 3. So turn 2 then, if you play her on turn 1, you can ink a card, play your Merryweather, which triggers Lady to go out for 1, and then you can also pay an ink to give her 2 more, which gives her 3, so she can go ahead and quest for 3. Otherwise, because you have Lady on board, you can pay 1 to play your Tramp, which triggers the make sure you play your other 1-drop first. So you have Lady on board, you play your 1-drop, you trigger your Lady, goes to 1 strength, play your Tramp, triggers Lady, goes to 2 strength, and then also Tramp boosting her to put her up to actually 4 at that point, but enough to quest for 3. Your other 1-drops, your other Lady, she's just going to go ahead and quest for 2 when you have the Tramp on board. So again, going this Lady into Tramp plus other card is like going to be a good option. Some other things like play lines, you have your Bobby Zamersky. When you play it, you get to draw a card, and then you discard a card, and that works out really, really well if you have Lilo. Like a lot of the time, the amount of times I had like either Lady in hand with Tramp and then like Bobby plus Lilo, I'd keep the Bobby Lilo so I can come out with like Lady on 1, then go like Tramp Bobby on 2 or Lady Bobby on 2, discarding the Lilo, things like that. Just getting used to playing it in sequence too. Like even when I didn't need to play Tramp after the other characters, I just always try to play it out as if just to get in the repetition of playing it, sequencing cards properly for when it does matter. Just like technically before you ink, you should always play your draw cards first. Like if you know you're going to Bobby, play it, draw a card, see what you have to work with, make your discard, and then ink. Sure, you might end up inking the same card, but there's a chance that you draw a worse card and you would rather ink that card. I mean, in this case, you can just discard it, so there is that going for it. But overall, pretty happy with it. 2 Little Johns. So I had 2 open spots. I was at 58, and then I was like looking through cards. I'm like, you know what? Let's put Fred in there for a later game card quest, and if they challenge it, I get 2 extra lore. This card is putting in so much work in testing and doing so good. I actually took out 2 more Little Johns and put 4 Fred in, and it just puts your opponent in such a weird spot. And like versus Blurple, they only have so many Hades, so many Into the Unknowns, and when you have other threats like Daisy, Lilo, because Lilo just keeps coming back, especially when you have Chromacon, it makes it very difficult for your opponent that way. Then you got your Ladies, your Tramps, threats like that, that also having Fred, and Fred's not great early game. Little John's definitely better like turn 1, turn 2. But as you get into like turn 4, turn 5, turn 6, once you're all of a sudden at like 13, 14 plus lore, like having Fred there is actually like insanely difficult for your opponent to deal with. In the finals, game 3, I went Daisy turn 1, Daisy Fred turn 2, Chromacon turn 3, and it was just game over at that point. The deck was just way too fast, and you can't challenge into it, and challenging the only character he could even take out at the time was the Fred, so just trying not to fall too far behind was take out the Fred, but then I get the 2 lore, and it just pushed me too far too fast anyway. So Fred was absolutely putting in a ton of work. Out of the 1-drops, he was right up there with most impactful on the day, outside of like Daisy just missing characters. I'd say probably 40% of the time Daisy did not hit a character, and that just felt really, really nice. Into the 2-drops, like I said, the 4 Lilos, Go-Go Tamagos was absolutely crazy. Like, being able to play this, it's essentially a 4-cost card because you play it and then you pay 2 and you just gain lore, gain lore equal to damage on a character. One game I did have an opponent where he played into it really poorly, and we were talking about it after, and it's just something to keep in mind. Like, when you know your opponent's playing Go-Go, and I've done it too, quite a few times, especially like with Monstro and like big characters in Blurple, I just left myself open to it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this, not thinking then they take something like with a 4 strength, 1 quester, slam 4 damage into me, play a Go-Go and get 4 lore for it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't see that. I didn't think about it. I just completely played right into that, and it happens. Or actually versus Ruby Amethyst, I bounced Mulan Shift, and it went right over my head that, hey, it's back in his hand. He's going to do it again. Played right into it, and that was the one game I had lost versus the Ruby Amethyst. Just things like that. Like, it's, it's something to just keep a mind on. But Go-Go definitely put in a lot of work. Just the threat of it even was really strong. I think twice on the day in games that it mattered, I was able to Go-Go for game. Other times I was able to play her and get lore, but twice I actually won the game off of it. Once, like, pulling her off the top deck, it felt really, really strong. Like I said, Tramp. So Tramp and Merryweather also, in addition to just not boosting like your lady to get the extra lore, you can go ahead and boost like a Bobby and take other things out. You can boost Little John and take other things out. I had a game, I think it was game 2 maybe, and I don't know if it was necessarily the right play in hindsight. It was very close in the way the game came down. I'm not quite sure, but at the same time, I still stand by it. I played the Tramp and boosted the Bobby because my opponent had a Bell with 1 damage on it, so then Bobby swung for 3, and I felt like trading Bobby into the Bell at that point was really good because I was about to lose the board, and I wanted to stay in control of the board, and it allowed me to trade a weak character for something very strong. Ursula puts in so much work, hitting Under the Sea. Versus Blurple, she really isn't that crazy because if my opponent's using Under the Sea or Into the Unknown, they're outing a card. Most of their characters that can sing Into the Unknown are going to take my character out anyway. So instead of my character going to the discard, it's going to the Inkwell. And usually when they're using it, it was like Lady or Tramp shifts. So I'm actually getting 2 lore or 2 ink. And I didn't think she was necessarily needed in the Blurple matchup, so I was inking her a lot. But at the same time, she's in there for Strength of the Raging Fire against Amber Steel. She's in there for Under the Sea against any other green deck. Like, you have to play her. You really, truly do. Even versus, like, Ruby decks, hitting, like, Bee King or Pirate's Life. Pirate's Life can be a sneaky card versus aggressive decks. And then, well, you just saw, too, we're playing 41 2-cost or lower cards. So having Lady, kind of good. She way more often than not gets to play a character for free. I did have one game where my 5-cost Lady just had nothing to grab out of my discard, but playing like Lady into Ursula was probably my favorite play with that, because one, I get the hand knowledge at a very pivotal turn and know how to play out the rest of my hand. I know if I should quest with my other 2 characters, especially like if I have Chromacon in hand, right? Like, you go 1-drop, double 1-drop, Lady into Ursula, check out their hand. Do I quest or do I wait till next turn when I play Chromacon? Just, it was so strong having Lady in there. You really do need her need her at 4. Then Shift Lady. This card is so good to get back. Getting back like Go-Go. I pulled Go-Go Fred back from discard one game, pulled Double Daisy back in another game. One game was super weird, so I was actually like crashing a couple little characters into my opponent just to play her, to get them back, to play them again. She really is really, really good. I would maybe put her to 4 and take out one of the 6 cost tramps, but 17 Uninkables scares me. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like to play 17 Uninkables. I don't like to play 16 either, but the deck actually played out really fine with it. I don't know if I want to push that. Maybe I'll test it out a bit. I know a lot of players say it's perfectly fine. 17's not bad, especially with such a low cost deck, especially when you have cards that discard. I get all that, but we'll see what ends up happening. So maybe we go to 4 Lady and just 2 of the 6 cost tramp. Essentially, he just lets you draw cards during your opponent's turn when your characters are banished. And then, lastly, the big tramp of the deck. Like, this card cycles you so much. I played this card and got to draw 5, probably 4 times, I think, on the day, where I had 5 characters, paid 2 ink, draw 5 cards. And one time I actually discarded 3 Lilos off of it. And then next turn, I just brought 2 Lilos back, and then 2 Lilos back. And with Chromacon, it was just too much for my opponent to answer, to do anything with. And then lastly, this deck is so good because you go under the bigger decks. You go under Blurple, you go under Baja, and things like that. But versus the other aggressive decks, you have the Merryweathers, you have the Tramps for the board control, but you also have Under the Sea for the absolute blowout. And it's felt really good. Obviously today versus Red-Green, versus Ruby Amethyst, and versus 6 Blurples, Under the Sea really did not come up, but you can't take it out because it's in there for those other aggressive matchups, for the Amber Steels, for the mirror matches, things like that. Like, you have to have it in there. I think at 2, though, is plenty fine. If you're expecting more aggressive decks wherever you're going, absolutely play it at more. And then instead of Scrump, so no Scrump, because my thought was, the decks that Scrump is good, I should be going under without it. I shouldn't be trying to rely on Under the Sea versus those decks. And the decks where Scrump is bad, Under the Sea already does good enough without it. So it felt like a win more card in matchups I should be winning, and a lose more card in matchups that I don't want to lose more at. Emerald Chromacon, however, into challenge decks. I mean, Calhoun can be absolute pain. There's only one purple steel player, and thankfully, sorry Phil, he didn't get there. Was able to avoid that matchup. Every other matchup I felt pretty good against. Ruby Amethyst being the one toss-up matchup because I feel like it could go either way. But Chromacon definitely putting in a lot of work in that matchup too. Chromacon felt really, really good at 3. Got down 2 a couple times, and it's not necessarily needed, but at the same time, what else are you going to do with it? Like, if you don't have a tramp to get the draws with the discards, you might as well play it and just really control that board presence. I will say, though, having like 2 Chromacons and a Lilo or 2 in your discard is absolutely nasty, because they keep coming back, and you just start bouncing your opponent continually, and they can't do anything. You just kind of outweigh them until you get to more cards on board, go wider, 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 and then you just end up winning the game. But overall, like I said, maybe 1 tramp for Lady. Other than that, there's really, I wouldn't say there's any changes I would make. Maybe I look for a different answer for Little John, because realistically it's just a 4 willpower body that costs 1. I don't want to go higher on Uninkables, though. And just overall, the deck performed every which way I would want it to. If you're going into any Blurple heavy meta, I think that this deck is an absolute game wrecker. That's why we ended up choosing to play it. But at the end of the day, I think that it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the format shakes out, especially for like DLC Milwaukee. Again, I will be there, so definitely come say hey or find me or shout out, anything like that. If your meta is a bunch of purple steel, do not play this deck. That's my little disclaimer I'm going to give you guys. Any questions, let me know down below. But thanks for watching. As always, take care.